in a second.
Are we ready? Are we on? Are we on? And now, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's really big show. Now, just a quick program note before we get started: the Invisible Man will not be seen tonight, so be sure to write that down. And we got a really fine group of performers that I know all of you youngsters are really going to enjoy. We've got the Dancing Elephants from Peru. Are they? They're not. They're not ready. All right. Well, let's keep things moving and bring out those flying baboons all the way from Yugoslavia. And some of the crew will tell you that the last time they were here on our show, they really made a really big mess. But how's that? They're not ready either. Well, we're going to keep things moving right along with a fabulous youngster coming to us tonight all the way live from Melbourne, Australia. And I really want to hear it for him. He's coming a long way. Ladies and gentlemen, a really big hand for Plastic EP. Come on, let's hear it for him. Plastic EP. Where is he? Come on, let's bring him on out. Let's hear it. Come on, you promised. Let's really hear it. Plastic EP.
How are you, Ed? How are you, Ed? Great to be on the show.
I'm doing great. And you look fantastic. How's everything in Melbourne, Australia?
It's really great, Ed. I mean, I'm just wrapped to be on your show here Sunday night. It's just a big pleasure here in 1964.
It's a lot of fun, and I'm sure President Johnson is watching our show tonight from the Oval Office.
Who else is watching?
Well, I've got my little Italian mouse, my little friend, Topo Gigio. All very big favorite with all those youngsters. He's a lot of people don't know he's the second cousin of Mickey Mouse, which is very good. Isn't that right? Now, just a little kiss. Just a little kiss. All right, Topo, say goodnight. Say goodnight. He's in his pajamas.
That's
and he's
great.
always a lot of fun. And of course, a lot of people. Now I don't know. Is our show, the Ed Sullivan Show, is that seen in Australia?
Yep, every Sunday night. And also got to tell you, Ed, thanks for having me on the show because of my new 1964 hit record.
Well, I'll tell you, I was just about ready to tell all the youngsters, and I'm sure that record is going to get a tremendous bump. And if I'm not mistaken, that record cost 45 cents for the in 1964 for the 45. And it's a delightful number. It's the flip side of your previous hit. I'd love to wear my mother's girdle if I only had the guts. Be sure to look for that. But it's the big hit of 1964. Hey, bananas, we think you're groovy. And I know that's really going to drive all the teenagers and all the youngsters bananas with that really big upbeat up-tempo number. And wish you a big success. I know a lot of people. Andy Williams has approached you about recording it. And, of course, on next week's show, along with Jose Feliciano and Robert Conrad and those delightful youngsters, the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. But let's find out more about your hit song. What inspired you to write a song about bananas?
I'll tell you, Ed, this is true, Ed. I was taking a bath, and the first line of the song came to me, which is, hey, bananas, we think you're groovy. And that no one knows, but it's on YouTube, right? Just for those groovers in the future, because it's 1964 now. But they can find us under The EPs, THE space EP apostrophe S. But getting back to the 1964 single, I was in the bath and the line came to me, hey, bananas, we think you're groovy. Now, you know what that proves? You can write a song anywhere and stay clean in the meantime.
Well, that's really an interesting story. And now a word from Excedrin.
Now, listen, I heard that you got Buddy Holly coming on now. Is that right?
One of the favorite, a youngster from Lubbock, Texas, and it's really going to be incredible because it's 1964, and of course we all know what happened in 1959.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're going to have Buddy Holly on, so we'll get Buddy Holly on. What a groove that is. We're going to talk back with Ed in a minute, but while we do that, look at this. We're going to go back to the 1963 album and give it a plug. Please, Please Me by the Beatles. What a fantastic album that is out there. For those of you who are actually able to buy it, you'll be getting Meet the Beatles. That's what's happening there. Meet the Beatles in 64. All right, let's see if Buddy Holly's ready to perform on the Ed Show. Here we go.
He's ready. Unbelievable.
Hey, how are you, Buddy?
I feel great, man. Doing good. Having some fun. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in. I saw your show and I was knocked out with your interview with Artie and Mitch, and it was just incredible. And I wanted to be on your show. I didn't know it was going to be this soon.
Well, it's that great. But I got to tell you, before you do a Buddy Holly song, George,
yeah,
tell me what influence Mitch was on. How big an influence Mitch Wiseman has been on you?
Mitch Wiseman, very dear friend of mine now. But when I was a kid growing up, the first time I saw Mitch, of course, we all heard the buzz about the show Beatlemania. And we were very excited because we were very big Beatle fans still in the 70s. And this had to be about 77. And there was a kids show called Wonderama with Bob McAllister, and they had Mitch Wiseman on as a guest. He came out, looked just like Paul McCartney. He had an Ovation guitar, and he sang yesterday. And then, of course, when Beatlemania came to LA, it had a big impact on my life. And we were talking about it before the show. I had a poster. It was actually for Ludwig drums, the same drums that Ringo played, the oyster pearl set or whatever. But it was in my bedroom, and every night before I would fall asleep, I would look up at that poster. Those guys were my heroes. Justin McNeil, Les Fradkin, of course, Mitch Wiseman, and Joe Pecorino. They were the original cast. And then when I went on to Las Vegas, I worked with different people who also knew Mitch. And in fact, that's where Mitch and I met the first time, several years, going back 35 years now. But just they were incredible to work with people of that caliber of talent, and that show knocked people out. It was really truly the closest thing, and to be working now with the Fab Four, doing Ed Sullivan and introducing our four guys, and a couple of whom are your friends. It's just by the second song, you can I look out in the audience, and you can see they come out. People are shocked, first of all, and then once they hear how good and close that they sound to the Beatles, they're hooked. And for all intents and purposes, they really, really pretend very, very well. And it's wonderful. You got to come to the States, or we got to go there.
I've been 3 times to the States, but let me tell you something, George, to your credit. I've seen you on videos, and you know what? It's not an easy job to come out, impersonate Ed, and then try and warm up the crowd and get them going. But once you get them going, it makes the show so much easier because you're bringing up the crowd to that fever point where they're just waiting for the Beatles, and now they can't wait. So they can't wait for the Fab Four to start playing, and they're already in the moment. Because as I was saying before in another interview, if the band are that good, for example, as Fab Four, #1 tribute band in the world, you actually think once they start playing, this is Beatlemania. You actually get taken over, enthralled by the moment. You're actually like in a Twilight Zone. That's true because you've seen it.
Well, like Artie said in the interview, that is our job. Everybody's attention to detail and just the theatrical presentation takes people away from their troubles for just that hour and a half or 2 hours. And then we've done our job. And then all of that incredible music, all of these guys. You've got to get Gavin Pring on your show. He is a wonderful, wonderful guy, big personality, and a very, very talented artist in his own right. And all of them to a man. This is my, I want to say, almost Well, it is. I've been working for the Fab Four over 16 years. And of course, I took over for the late, great Jerry Hoban, who you would remember from the movie Pulp Fiction. He played Ed Sullivan in the Jackrabbit Slims scene. And he was a dear friend of mine. And you know that when Jerry asked me, I first started off subbing for Jerry. And the first time he called up and asked me to do it, I said no. I said, I could never do Ed Sullivan. God, you're the he was the master, the look and the sound and doing movies and such. And he said, kid. He was only a couple years older, but he always called me kid. And he said, you come to the Las Vegas Hilton. I'll show you how to do it. Help me with the makeup and the presentation. And that was something, too, being on the same stage that Elvis performed on. And then the Fab Four. I was a Fab Four fan before I had even met them. And they're just tremendous. Just tremendous
George,
guys.
I was a fan, too, before I interviewed Artie.
Yeah.
So I want to interview all the rest of the band. But as I said, now tell me, you did a Legends show. How many years is it so far with the Fab Four? And tell me about the Legends show and being in Vegas and all this. I got to hear all this story now. Tell me.
Well, I started in 1983. The only other impersonators in Las Vegas were shows like Boylesque and La Cage, which were men impersonating women. So when we started Legends on May 5th, 1983, the reviews that came out said, nice little show. It should last about a month. And that excited me because I had a 3-week contract. I remember parking my 65 Volkswagen Beetle on the side of my parents' house. And I said, hey, Mom and Dad, I'll be back in 3 weeks, because I thought it was a 3-week job. I wound up living in the hotel for 2 years. And I was with that show for almost 26 years. And today it is the longest running continual show in Las Vegas. It surpassed Siegfried and Roy and Jubilee and a few other long-running production shows. And of course, with the quarantine, everybody's been locked down. Las Vegas has been essentially closed, but they're starting to reopen slowly. And they are the longest-running show in Las Vegas history. And I'm happy to be a part of that. I was the first act.
Tell me about the Elvis impersonators. Did you say you worked with over 100? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Tell me a few stories about the Legends show, and tell me a few stories about the Fab Four. You got to tell me some stories. The viewers really want to know.
The Fab Four, they're incredible guys, and we have a saying in the tribute business that when the show's over, you should leave your character on a hook in the dressing room, because it's just isn't right. And there are a few stories, and I won't mention too many names. Some of the Elvis guys try to be Elvis all the time. Some of the gals that do the different female impersonators, Dolly Parton or Marilyn Monroe or whatever, sometimes they take it a bit too far, or think, hey, I got to be this character all the time. And there's some really incredible lookalikes. But the real thing, I think, especially a great tribute act, is the talent and the showmanship that you do. And you actually do each one of these characters a little over the top. The way I did Buddy Holly, jumping around and duck wire. I took a little bit of Chuck Berry. I took a little bit of Elvis, with moving and everything. Buddy Holly basically just stood there and sang these great songs. But if you go a little bit over the top, and you have to understand that you're performing to a modern audience. It's not 1959. In those days, it was the 1980s and 90s and so on. So with technology and with lighting and with all the dancers and the big production, it tended to be a little bit over the top. And then people would come up to you after the show and say, wow, you were just like him. When in reality, you were way over the top, not really like him at all. But
George, since you got the guitar, just play me a little bit of Buddy Holly, and then we can have a look at your electric guitar. I'm fascinated with that too.
What's your favorite Buddy Holly song?
Well, I like the one you just played now, Peggy Sue, wasn't it?
Well, if you knew a Peggy Sue, then you know why I feel blue about Peggy. my Peggy Sue. Well, I love you, gal. Yes, I want you, Peggy Sue.
I love it. I just got to tell you, you know that one, Mailman Bring Me No Blues? That's one of John Lennon's favorites. Can you play a bit of that?
How does it go?
Mailman Bring Me No Blues. Do you not know that one?
I know a lot of offbeat Buddy Holly songs. There's a song called Rockin' Around with Ollie V, which, if you remember the Buddy Holly Story movie, was the song he kind of got in trouble with, playing it at the roller rink, Gary Busey. Or Looking for Someone to Love.
Yeah, play that one. Looking for someone to love.
Lying in bed, wait for you. I don't know, baby, what I'm gonna do, 'cause I'm looking for someone to love. Looking for someone to love. You're not here, and baby, I don't care, 'cause I'm looking for someone to love. Well, telephone ring, shining star. I look around, baby, and there you are. But I'm looking for someone to love. Looking for someone to love. You're not here, and baby, I don't care, 'cause I'm looking for someone to love. Yes, I'm looking for someone to love. Yes, I'm looking for someone to love.
I love it, George. You
And
can get rid of that katana. That was fantastic. Show me the electric now. Tell me about the electric.
All righty.
And how you got it and what that story's about.
Well, when I first started in Las Vegas, I was playing an Ibanez, their model of the Strat, and nobody really seemed to know it. But as the show went on, I wanted to strive to be as authentic as I could. So I wrote a letter to the Fender Music Company in Fullerton, California. And a few weeks later, in the mail came, of course, I was living at the hotel. So I got a call, and this arrived. It is a 1957 reissue. This is made in 1983, and it's all the specs, headstock, the fretboards, everything. And you can see I put a little bit of wear on it. And this was my main axe, my main guitar for many, many years. And see the back. I used to wear cufflinks. I don't know if you can see it, but because I wore cufflinks, it's kind of dented all in through here and all the finishes off. But it's a very good playing guitar. I don't take it on the road anymore, but and I'm sort of, I live in Florida now, so I do a lot of gigs at the over 55 communities. So I left Legends because I was too old. It's not good for a 50-plus-year-old guy to be doing a guy who passed away when he was 22. But I think people get it, that it's the spirit of the music. You know what I mean? And there's an Elvis impersonator named Ryan Pelton who works for Legends in Branson. And he also was in a movie with Ray Liotta called The Identical, which was a great movie. And he's wonderful, wonderful Elvis tribute artist in Branson. He produced a show called The Day the Music Didn't Die. And it's Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Richie Valens. And my friend Tim Stamper was the Big Bopper, and one of the greatest guys. Boy, you got to get him on your show if you like Richie Valens. A guy named Stingray Anthony, who travels with the Winter Dance Party show, and he is phenomenal. A great guitar player. We do these oldies cruises, and that was the first show that I'd ever been in where I could be myself, be the age that I am. And I just turned 60 last week. 1 week ago, I turned 60. So it's been a great time, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. Of course, I lived in Las Vegas for a long time, traveled the world. We took the show to Russia in '91. We were the first American show after the end of well, it's hard to say, but there was a big coup. Boris Yeltsin, we came over as guests of Boris Yeltsin, and we played in Riga, Latvia. Also, an interesting legend story. There was a lady that played Marilyn Monroe in the show, and she was married to Paul Revere from Paul Revere and the Raiders. So Paul came over and met us there. He had a show in Germany, And when we got there, it was in 91, and it was right after a military coup. So they really didn't have food for us. So Sydney Revere, his wife, gets on the phone with Paul and says, Paul, you get a suitcase and you fill it with food. There's nothing to eat over here. And they were giving us the best they had. It was just, they didn't have anything. So Paul arrives in Riga, Latvia, and about 15 of us go up to his hotel room. And he was a very funny guy, very talented cat. And I loved him a lot. And he opens up his suitcase and he opens it up. It was like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. It was like, oh, and there was peanut butter, fruit roll-ups, granola bars. And he said, and of course, Paul has passed. He's been gone about 4 years now. But every time I saw Paul Revere, I said, man, I'll never forget you saving our life in Riga, Latvia. Brought that suitcase full of food. And that was just one of many, many legends stories. But I had a great time. And I'm having a ball with the Fab Four. Jerry Hoban passed, and I've stepped up. There's also another fella that does Ed Sullivan with our show, because sometimes there's double bookings, and he's a very talented comedian out of New York named Jeff DeHart. You can look him up. There's several things, and he is like an impressionist, like Rich Little or Frank Gorshin, a lot of voice impressions and things. So we each have a different approach to doing the character of Ed Sullivan, and he's a great guy. And well, he's a great guy, but we very seldom get to work together because we do the same character. And Gavin as George is incredible. Artie, just the fact that he is right-handed and taught himself to play left-handed is pretty incredible. There's a very few guys that could do something like that. And then Ron McNeil, the original John, and still the president of the company. Very, very wonderful guy. Watched his kids grow up, and he's got a beautiful family. And of course, now we have Adam Hastings, and he's from England, and then Joe Bologna on the drums, and he's great. He's from Detroit. Very, very funny. He's a funny guy and an excellent drummer. So you put all these guys, and let me tell you this too, Plastic. As you get closer to showtime, like during the sound check, it's all about tech. The sound checks are longer than the show because they want everything to sound just right, the right sound, the right balance. And our sound man, Mike Amador, who is a great guitar player, and he played George until Gavin came along. Now he's our sound man. If you can imagine, the sound man for the Fab Four knows every note, could get up and play every note in the show. So he's sitting at the board. He knows how it's supposed to sound. He knows how it's supposed to be delivered. And during the sound check, it's all business. It's all, hey, I need more reverb. Or, hey, can we bring this up 2 dB or whatever it is? And as you get closer to showtime, these guys they transform themselves into the Beatles. And everybody's got their own pre-show ritual. Artie likes to listen to the Hard Day's Night album as he's getting ready. And about 5 minutes to showtime, they're all business, man. And it's so, and they all have great senses of humor, but the closer you get to showtime, it's like, all right, let's go, boys. Let's give them another great show. And that's what I love. I really love being a part of a professional outfit. That's the truth.
That's the professionalism there. I mean, as I said to you, I've been fans of Fab Four before I interviewed him. And I said that to Artie. I said, I'm one of your biggest fans. And I also got to say, their Christmas CD Hark, those songs, they're just
I haven't.
unreal.
That was what I was going to dig it out, because I heard you say that. And I've got both of them, and we'll be sure to get them signed and get them off to you. And if ever you're in the States, once this lockdown is over with, you'd be our guest anytime. Be my personal guest anytime you want to come and see the Fab Four. And
I love the guys. But I said, Artie's trying to get me one CD signed, and I said, Artie, if it's too much trouble and you can't get everyone to sign it, it's all right. But as I said, if you want to work on another CD or whatever, and you get it signed by everyone, because I know Artie's busy, That'd be
No
great
worries.
too, George. But I don't expect it. You know what I mean? Because,
No,
you know, I
it'll be
got
our
to tell
pleasure.
you, I'll be playing those CDs in my house every day. Have you got them there with you?
I had them. You know, when you contacted me, I just emailed you this morning because I had watched the interview with Mitch and Artie, and I was actually cooking dinner, and you said, "Hey, can you go on in 40 minutes?" And I put dinner on the back, and I took a shower, and I got all ready. But I'll have that out to you. I wanted to have some pictures and some other things to show your audience, but I've had a wonderful career. I will say this: I didn't start out to be a celebrity impersonator. That's just the way it worked out, and that part of my career has really worked out well for me, and I'm so blessed and so happy that to still be doing it, to be 60 years of age and to still be touring and doing shows with such a professional company as the Fab Four, and I've been really blessed. Also do the Blues Brothers, and I do a bit of Mick Jagger, and you know,
Do a bit of Mick. Take the glasses off and do a bit of Mick.
Well, let's see. All right, let's see.
Mick's coming back. This will be good. We'll give him a
see
second.
here.
He's coming.
Yeah.
Can you sing a few lines, Mick? Mick, can you sing a few lines? Can you sing a few lines from Satisfaction? Oh, that's funny.
That's kind of fun, huh?
No, that's funny. Now, George, I just want to say, looking around the room there before, you showed me the big rack of your clothes, and you're a big collector of a lot of stuff too.
Yeah. Oh, there they are. I put my glasses down. I can't really see. That's an advantage when I do Ed Sullivan or Mick Jagger. I can't really see the audience. Oh!
Anyway,
Yeah.
George, I want to say it's been fantastic. Are you able to pan around and just show us what you've got in the room there?
Sure.
What have you got that you can show us? You got stuff that's signed too, haven't you?
I do. I've got the Righteous Brothers and some Paul Revere and the Raiders. Some different mementos from my career.
Can we have a look at those?
Yeah. Let's see. Of course, I've got a couple of pictures of Buddy Holly.
Yeah, that's great.
And the Beatles. And my wigs. And then some
Show
of
us that board there. That's great. That's fascinating.
What's that?
That board where you got all the pictures. Yeah, show us that.
Oh, yeah. That's the cast shot. There's a shot with Maria Holly when she came and visited us. There's me with the Crickets,
Yep.
Jerry and Joe B, and a couple of magazine covers and a cast shot. There's a bit of glare.
No, it's fine.
You know, and then I've got like an Elvis mic and some guitars, and then my Beatle guitars are up high. It's sort of an ongoing process. You know, I've got a lot of costumes. I'll tell you what's exciting for me when I first started making a little money in Las Vegas. I went out. Of course, it was 1983, and I went out and I bought a Betamax, and I bought a camera, and I have all of these beta tapes, big boxes full of the beta tapes that I haven't seen in over 25 years. I don't have anything to play it on. So for my birthday, my mom, I had an old Sony beta machine. We shipped it off to Texas. It got repaired, and I'm going to get it tomorrow. It's supposed to be here tomorrow. So I'll be able to look at back when I was 24, 25 years old, doing the show in Las Vegas, and before I got married, before I had our son, you know. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then looking ahead, you know, when you hit 60, you get a little reflective, and you look back at your life and your career. And I'd like to write a book with some stories and some pictures I've taken. But Ron is doing a documentary about Paul Revere and the Raiders. Trying
That's
very
fantastic. I got to talk to Ron. I told Artie to hook me up with everyone, and as you know, he's busy. So we'll see what happens, but I'm sure something's going to eventuate. But I got to ask you, have you got a lot of footage of the Fab Four playing in Vegas?
I've got some in Vegas and on the road. What I try to do, and I'm so happy now that we're Facebook friends, I'll go live. I'll do my bit on stage, the first half of the show, and then I'll take my phone and go live and say hello to the fans and show them sort of the Fab Four from the side or from backstage. Once in a while, I'll be able to go around to the front of the house and get them. But I've got, if you go on my Facebook page, check that out after the show. And I've got lots of pictures, and we've been on the road. Of course, you know, people think, oh, you don't really work, you play music, and oh, you get to travel and everything. It's hard. It's living on the road is really difficult sometimes. The food.
You know what? It's a great idea. Before a show, we can go live. You can get me on the phone and say to the guys, here's plastic, and go around. We do some background footage of them saying hello and that, and then you film them going on the stage. Then hand the phone to someone else, and they'll film you doing your interview, and we'll get a song from the Fab Four. That would be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely doable. That's, this technology, it's really incredible what everybody carries around in their pockets nowadays. And, the lockdown, a lot of people are getting very creative. Gav has a show every Sunday night called Gav and the Lav. Artie's doing Music Mayhem. And I have been toying with the idea of doing a show, just me and my guitar, telling some stories, doing different things. I've been working on different songs. I just learned Ricky Don't Lose That Number by Steely Dan, and, do a little country, do a little this, do a little of that. But it's kind of intimidating when so many people out there are great, But thank you so much for having me on your show, inviting me. What a fun guy you are, man.
I got to tell you, George, you're one of my special guests, and I thoroughly enjoyed this interview, and it won't be our last. And I can tell you, I got the biggest buzz with this interview, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. And from Melbourne, Australia, it's Plastic EP, and from George Ed / Buddy Holly, take us out and say goodbye to everyone, George, because it's been a buzz.
Thanks very much for having me on your show. It's been a buzz. And be sure to join us next week when our special guest will be Kate Smith.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace and love.